So yesterday I embarked on the beginning of my 30-month free trial of Unraid. And what I was going to do was make a video after the month finished and let you know all about it, what I thought, and if I was going to pay for a full license. But I decided, I'm like, hey, I'm a day in, I have some early first impressions. Why not just throw a video together and talk through at least first thoughts after, say, 24 hours of using it? And I would say it is interesting. I was going to say a little weird. There's some stuff that's really cool, some stuff that's a bit odd, and a number of things that just downright confused me or I found hard to work through. And I thought, hey, maybe capturing some of that now would be interesting because, you know what, I'll probably forget it or it'll just become normal as I learn the system. So obviously we have Unraid here in front of me, but let me start by telling you a little bit about the system I'm using it on and the problem I'm trying to solve because it may not line up with your use cases at all. But basically, I have an old PC. It's actually a pretty good PC. I think it's an i9 9900KS. Actually, I'm right. It says it right in front of me. So good processor. It's an old gaming machine, 32 gigs of memory, and a whole bunch of consumer grade drives that I have had sitting around, including some SSDs, etc. So if I come over to main, you can see them. So I have like these Western Digital 10 terabyte, two 6 terabytes, two 3 terabytes. And then on the SSD front, I have a 500, a 4 terabyte, and another 500. And this is just some of the consumer drives I have around. What I've been doing up until now is I had Proxmox running on the machine, and I just threw all of the drives into an LVM group and just had a big pool of storage that I would run. I would make large virtual disks on. Now, of course, there was no redundancy there. And the thing that appealed to me about Unraid was that it does support mixed size drives in the array. I think that's one of its unique features versus something like TrueNAS, which you have to have drives of the same size inside the VDEVs. And so I wanted something that could handle all of my drives, but I also needed it to run VMs pretty well, since what I do is I run it as a media server. And it's not a high usage media server. Like it mostly just sits there, has some the photos, videos, movies type thing, and is maybe used by one TV. So I figured I have all these drives around, why not set it up as another NAS and I can just at least mess around with it and have some other storage to use if I needed it. So I decided to give it a shot, installed it yesterday. And so first things first, the first observation is the installation's a little weird and you'll come across this when you go to do it, and that is Unraid installs from a USB drive. And what I mean is the USB drive is the license key. And what happens is you're gonna flash, so when you get it, see if I can find it, free trial, here we go. Oh, it's right in front of us. Great, so the first thing you do when setting up Unraid is you download a USB creator and then you flash it onto a USB drive, and that USB drive needs to stay with the machine because your license is tied to the GUID on the drive. So first, make sure you get a USB drive, which is high quality, make sure it's not a knockoff, doesn't need to be very big. This was strange because I'd rather just grab an ISO and try it in a virtual machine. Now, I'm sure I could have kind of wired that up in some way, but that would have been a pain. So it runs off a USB, and I think what it does is on boot, it just reads the OS off the USB. It's just running it from RAM after that point. So that was interesting. But I'll give it credit. The setup was super simple. It installed itself, and then you jump right into this web UI to set everything up. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on here, but let me walk you through some of the main concepts. And I will say, this is where things got weird. I generally find the way this UI works and some of the UI elements to just not be intuitive. And I can't place my finger on it. I'm sure with time I'll figure it out. But more than once, I was like hunting around trying to understand what the heck it was doing. It really honestly got to the point where when I was first setting this up, I almost just walked away. I was like, I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to deal with figuring all this out. I'll just go back to TrueNAS or something else that I know. But I was like, no, give it a fair shot. I think the UI needs some good expert views, to be honest. That's my opinion. So let me show you some of the concepts here. So the main concept with Unraid is the array. And this is kind of where you throw all your disks, and this is where you can throw mixed size disks in. And what you do is when you set up the array, you decide the number of slots. If my array wasn't running, and I'm not going to stop it, and I'll tell you why, you can then change the number of slots in the array. So a drop down comes and I can pick, say, 5, 6, 7 slots. And then for each slot, I get to choose one of the drives I put into it. The other thing you get to pick is 1 or 2 parity drives. And so this is how Unraid provides some level of fault tolerance on the array. You have a parity drive, but then you have a bunch of mixed size drives as well. And I don't think they recommend mixing hard drives with flash drives. But the one thing they recommend, but it's actually a hard requirement, is that your parity drive must be the largest drive in the group. So as you can see, I have a 10 terabyte drive and I had no choice but to make that the parity disk. I did find that a little annoying. So I was forced to use the 10 terabyte and the rest of the disks go into usable space. And you can see they are using XFS. And then so next, Unraid has this concept of pools. And this is another way you can group disks together. And you can do this and you can choose what file system you want to use with them. So if you actually like ZFS, you can create ZFS pools with Unraid and choose the different ZFS parameters if you want it mirrored, striped, etc. So that's pretty neat. And what I did here is I used one of my SSDs as a cache pool, and I'll get into what cache drives are in a second. And then I just made another pool I have a big 4 terabyte SSD as a landing space for VM drives, temp space, etc. I did choose to format it as ZFS. So let me pause and explain cache pools for a second because this made me crazy. So you hear the term cache drive and you think it's going to be magically integrated with the array or something else, especially if you've used TrueNAS. And that's not how it works at all. Basically, it has to do with shares. So let me jump over to shares for a second. And you can see all the different shares I have set up. Some of these it sets up for you, like a landing location for ISOs. And so here you can see this is where caches come into play. So the fact that it is called cache pool, this doesn't make it a cache at all. That's literally just the name I typed in. This is just a pool I set up. You can actually use any pool you want as a cache. So let's go over to a share. And let's say for a second that I want to add, I have a big pool of movies, like this is sitting on spinning disks. And now I want to use one of my SSDs as a cache in front of that to improve read and write performance. So the way you do that is you open up the share and you can see under primary storage for movies, you can choose array, see cache pool. That was one of the pools I set up on an SSD. And I also have another pool named SSD. So cache pool is where my 500 gigabyte SSD is. So you can choose primary storage as cache pool and secondary storage as the drive array. And then what happens is there is a background task, I probably think of it as a cron job, sitting somewhere called a mover, that what it does is on a periodic basis, it transfers files from the cache pool to the secondary storage. And of course, like I think when a read happens, if there's a read miss on the cache, it goes and gets it from the drive, stores it in the cache pool, etc. But it's a very different model than I'm used to thinking of caches for. And you need to be aware of how this works because it absolutely opens you up for data loss. Because if the mover only runs once a day to move files from your SSD back to your array, if the SSD were to go down and it is not redundant, then you can lose data. So just to kind of put that point home, let's go back here. You can see my cache pool only has one 500 gig drive. So if this thing goes down with any files on it that aren't moved back, I'm going to lose those. You can also see I have a second 500 gig drive, and ideally I would put this as a mirrored ZFS pool to build some redundancy in there, but I'm actually having trouble getting this drive working at the moment, so I'm just running the one drive. So like I said, it really has to do with how user shares work. And just to kind of show you a little more, so I went into the scheduler and settings, and here you can see, here's the mover settings. By default, it runs daily at 3 in the morning and logging is disabled. But you could change that to run much more frequently if you wanted to move that data over. While we're in settings, you can see a bunch of the other stuff I haven't set up yet. There are parity checks, trim schedules, etc. But let's kind of jump back. We were looking at main, and the one thing I said is I can't show you how these menu items work right now because I have to stop the array. And this is one of the other frustration points I found. To make any changes to any of this, you have to stop and take the array offline, which makes it unavailable for all the shares. And my shares are currently being used as I'm writing a bunch of data to them. And the other thing that's in progress right now is the initial parity synchronization, which is going to take apparently 13 days now. That's kind of annoying. And so where I found trouble with this is I set up all these drives, the hard drives, I got the parity sync going, And then I was trying to get this SSD working and build another pool. I can't change the pools at all without taking the entire array offline. It makes it difficult to do spot maintenance on this. And so now I guess I have to wait, how long? 11 days so I can till I can mess with pools again. But while we're at it, let's just quickly move over to shares. And this is where you set up Windows shares, etc. And I want to give them credit. This was dead simple to set up. So I'll just show you, I'll just add a share. You set the share name, where the share is going to be, and then you're done. And by default, it actually makes it all publicly available, which is probably why it's easy. You're not having to deal with accounts and passwords and anything else, which arguably is, not the best security posture out of the box, but I understand where they're coming from. And for a home lab environment, I actually appreciated it. Like where I could set up a few shares and then I was able to go right over to another machine and access them and start dumping files into this thing. One thing I will point out, so let's just open up TV shows, that once you get the share set up, it has this concept of exporting the share. And you have to do this if you want to see it available off of the machine. Otherwise, it's just there for internal use. All right, now let's move over to virtual machines real quick. And I've only set up one virtual machine, so I'm not an expert at this. Compared to Proxmox, it really confused me. And this comes down to, I think, just how the UI works, not that the underlying functionality is good or bad. And let me show you something. So let's add a new VM and I'll show you what it looks like. Click add a VM. First, you pick what OS you want. I guess, so I picked Linux. I actually didn't see Ubuntu as an option. So I will pick Ubuntu. It gives me a nice icon. And so this interface right here, I just find very hard to parse. And I have to read each menu item by default. So name Ubuntu, description, web UI to start, override storage location. See, it's stuff like this that you really need to pay attention to and it's easy to miss. Be like, okay, well, no, I actually want the default storage location to be my 4TB SSD. Okay, have to remember to do that. And then choosing the logical CPUs and threads. I found this I don't know why I need to do this. So I could just let's give it these 4. I mean, nice feature, maybe. Like, I think you can do this on Proxmox as well, where you choose cores and sockets. But this was, I guess, more configuration than I needed. So you can choose the initial memory. And then here you choose the OS, the ISO to install. And you're like, well, how do I do this? There's no upload button, etc. And what I didn't realize is back on the shares page, it creates a share for ISOs and you have to drop the ISO in there. That was not obvious to me at all. I had to figure it out. But again, I actually appreciated being able to do that because I was able to kind of just sit on the machine I'm on, grab the ISO and drop it in the share, and then it appeared up here. So here, we'll just choose the desktop share. We'll keep going. Primary vdisk location. Sure, auto. Primary vdisk size. So I think what we'll do is, let's say 128G. Again, very weird interface. I can't put my thumb on it. Now, if you're like, hey, I actually want to throw a couple of vdisks on it, how do you do that? And it took me hours to catch this little button over here. And there you go. Now I can add a second vdisk. That was strange. And then the next question you start to ask is, well, how do I pass the shares over in this menu section into my virtual machine? And here you can do it right here. You choose the share mode. From what I've read, 9P is probably the fastest, and we'll choose movies. It automatically puts it in mount user movies. And then if I want to add more shares, I can do it like this. And there you go. And that's how you pass the shares into the virtual machine. Here's the bad news. This did not work for me at all. I did all this. I set up a Ubuntu desktop virtual machine. I got no shares on it. I mean, sure, I can access them through SMB and that's fine, but I have not figured this one out. I probably need to install something on the guest. You can pass a graphics card through. I haven't tried this. I've come across some information which says this may not work as expected, but ultimately I do want to try passing this through to Plex. Console, protocol, password, etc. And then once you are done, I'm not going to click start, click create, and here you go. And so here's the next thing that confused me on the UI. What the heck do I do now? I guess I could start it here. If I go back to my dashboard, here are my VMs. What does this do? Does this start all of them? I don't know what it does and I'm afraid to press it. Okay, here, I clicked on that. And so that's the settings for the VM manager. I didn't expect that to happen. So we'll just go back to VMs. This is what I realized. I have to click this logo and now I could edit it, create snapshots, etc. Okay, fine. Just weird. So let's start with a VNC and see what happens. Okay, well, we got there, not bad. So let's close that, and I'll actually show you over here on this other one. I actually have this up and running with a full installation, and yeah, this works fine. Now, I haven't gone through and installed Plex or anything else on this, so we'll do that later. And then, of course, there's all the settings. There's a whole set of plugins and community plugins. You can add Docker containers and all kinds of stuff to this, which I haven't looked at all. I just wanted to kind of give the early impressions of Unraid after using it for a day. As I said more than once, I find the UI really strange. I am getting used to it. My biggest frustration so far was getting cache drives working, but once I figured that out, it's been fine. So my plan is to let this thing finish. I'll wait out I'm worried that my license will expire before this finishes, but I'm gonna let the parity sync finish. I am working on moving a bunch of media over to it, and I'm gonna run Plex and just see how that works. And I'll run a few other VMs as well and do that for a month. And I'll come back with my final thoughts. So we'll leave it here for today. If you're using Unraid, I'd love to know what you think about it. So go ahead and leave that in the comments below, and we'll see you next time.